IMF projects Nigeria's GDP growth to remain at 3.4% and says inflation will remain elevated as it reaches 17.76% in May. Federal Executive Council approves 100 billion naira for infrastructure. And attention of business express today is in Lagos as the Central Bank of Nigeria and Bankers Committee hold Maiden Non-Oil Export Summit. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Katung. Babatunde, you're welcome. A very good morning to you. I will begin by informing you that the Federal Executive Council has approved about 100 billion naira for the provision of critical infrastructure for enhanced services in education, aviation and road transportation sectors of the nation's economy. The Council also approved the enactment of the Federal Fire and Rescue Service Establishment Act 2022.
Will approve the proposal for the rehabilitation of the 91.94 kilometer Kashimbila Takum Chachangi Road in Taraba State in the sum of 66.983 billion naira.
Also approved by the Council is 964 million naira for the provision of satellite-based education system for 109 e-learning centers across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT.
The purpose of the memo is to provide each central district in the country satellite-based education system for about 4,360 users. And it will include installation of 109 receiver satellite unit modem and antenna in 3 schools in each state, installation of 109 solar unit for receiver terminals, and deployment of 4,360 Android tablets.
The International Energy Fund IMF on the recent economic and financial developments and the economic outlook for Nigeria says Nigeria's economy recovery continues to gain strength on the back of services in agriculture, with GDP growth reaching 3.6% year-on-year in Q1 2022. The outlook says latest data shows economic growth broadening to all sectors except oil, where production remains weak, reflecting continued security and technical challenges. The IMF added that inflation has reached 17.7% year-on-year in May, just as it was released Wednesday by the National Bureau of Statistics. Inflation was led by a renewed surge in food prices, exacerbated by the war in Ukraine and rising food security concerns, as over 40% of the population live below the poverty line. To contain inflationary pressures, the Central Bank of Nigeria has recently hiked its monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 13%. Regarding the economic outlook, the statement says GDP growth is projected at 3.4% in 2022, while inflation is expected to remain elevated. The fiscal deficit of the consolidated government is expected to remain high at 6.1% of GDP due to great measures to costly petrol subsidies and limited tax revenue collections. Downside risk to the near-term rise from further deterioration of security conditions, elections, low vaccination against COVID-19, and higher global interest rates. The oil and gas industry in Nigeria is transiting and has repositioned for global competitiveness through organizations birthed by the Petroleum Industry Act. They are now drivers that will incisively project and inject the fuel needed for the country's transformation. Leah Sampson reports.
Since the PIA become a reality, organizations battered under the earth have hit the ground running, fueling and reshaping the oil and gas sector in Nigeria for greater transparency and optimal performance. Experts note that President Muhammadu Buhari's remarkable record in the sector has evidently surpassed previous standards.
Our industry was actually stagnated for a very long time because of the non-passage of the PIB. When we came, we decided to ensure that we passed the PIB. And last year, August, Mr. President was able to sign the PIB to law, so it became the PIA. And of course, the implementation started. The implementation being to create the institutions that have been enabled by the PIA.
The sector is equipped to deploy clarity in all processes and transactions to mitigate future challenges. Key stakeholders acknowledge that the transformational agencies created by the Petroleum Industry Act will continue to evolve with the implementation of the Act.
So what this will mean to our country is that, first, NNPC will now be more focused, will be clearly commercially focused. But more than anything else, there are many things that NNPC does today that will no longer be necessary and will never be done by this company. For instance, there are things that we do on behalf of states and the federation. Now it has to be on a commercial basis. We will have a service level agreement between us and the federation so that we do everything for the purpose of commercial value while delivering energy security to our country.
However, with supply shocks globally occasioned by geopolitics, key players say Nigeria must continue looking inward and pushing boundaries.
The issue that we have to look inward and see how, because we should not allow the issue of Ukraine and probably the after effect of the COVID to bring out. We should just move ahead and do what we are supposed to do. Do what we are supposed to do to full implementation of the PIA, irrespective of whatever the principles, so that we take a bold move, and the market forces will eventually, settle down, and when the market forces settle down, everything will normalize.
They opine that the clarity provided by the Petroleum Industry Act has continued to make Nigeria the preferred oil and gas hub.
As you know, the PIA is quite transformational. In relation to the products that Nigeria uses, we've tried to maintain sufficiency of stock. PMS with 30 days is a minimum average that we keep. We've always we strive to exceed that 30 days.
Ease of investment through the clarity of the PIA has been identified as the global best practice that will help the country make successful partnerships across the oil and gas value chains globally.
In tackling the inflation dynamics in the oil and gas sector can only be achieved by tackling energy security. Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Malik Yari, in a message to the Energy Company Executives Conference on Global Transition, insisted that fossil fuels, especially natural gas, are still needed despite global trends. He was represented by the Group General Manager of the National Petroleum Investment Management Services, NAPIMS, Balawunti, a subsidiary of the NNPC Limited, who was started at the Forum on Global Energy Transition 2022, that the market still need financial and investment.
Simple way and manner of making this. In this country today, the battle is about inflation. And every action to adjust for it, we have seen that it's working. Simply because we are not addressing the root cause of that inflation. And that root cause of that inflation is energy. And as long as we are not able to address the energy issue, that inflation's dynamics will change. And we therefore have to go in for one whole and inflationary trend. If we go to the transition, but let them understand able to get that energy equation right.
He emphasized that with natural gas as Nigeria's energy transition bridge, the country is in a position to attract investments that will help achieve the targeted net zero objective. He noted that NNPC, which is one of Africa's largest energy companies operating across various segments of the energy value chain, is transforming into a global player in the energy market, providing commercial platforms for energy to be traded. Attaining these, he says, energy requires resources to be unlocked and delivered to markets. We're moving down to Lagos, the commercial hub of Nigeria, where, of course, the RG200 summit is just about kicking off, and it is the maiden summit of non-oil experts, and NTA is bringing that to you live, and so we hand over to our team in Lagos on ground there.